It looks like there's a real large audience on the call today once again. And being that we've taken a couple minutes here, I'd like to pass it right over to Mike and Dominic over right now as well, and let you guys get going and do your presentation. And we look forward to another great coaching session today. So over to you guys.
Great. Thank you so much. My name is Mike Alpert. It's great to be with you guys today. And today we're going to be talking about doubling your database in 60 days. So this is a picture of me and Brian Tracy. So we're going to be talking about a lot of great things today in how you can increase those number of people. So real quick of what we're going to go through today, we're going to talk a little bit about intention and permission and how these things come into play with what you do with your database. And then we're going to talk through 2 specific techniques for the physical world and 2 techniques for the virtual world. Then we'll talk about some specific questions that you guys might have, and then we'll talk about how you take action from this and move to the next step. Okay? So let's get right into it and ask the obvious question is, why should I grow my list, right? Why should I increase the number of people that I have, and why should I do it with speed and how will it affect my business? Well, the answer is to grow your revenue. Let's take a quick look at the value of your list. And this was based on the survey that we just sent out yesterday, so appreciate everyone that took a few minutes to answer the questions. So here's a couple of things of what the information that you guys fed back, and this is all VERICO people that have responded to this survey. So 3 key things. One is that most of you have a list of names or a database that's less than 500 names. 68% of the respondents have less than 500 names in their database today. Secondly, we asked the question, what % of your closed business came from your existing list in the last 3 months? So the largest percentage was 43% of the respondents said less than a quarter of their business came from their list. Now, there were a few people that said 100% of their business came from their list, and 12% that said about 75% of the business. So overwhelmingly, though, the majority of people didn't generate a lot of business from their list in the last 3 months. Also, relative to how fast you're growing your list, 63% of you actually said that you are growing your list very slowly, meaning that you're adding less than 10 names per month to that list. Right? So the list isn't growing very quickly in what you guys are doing today. So let's talk about now, having said this information, it seems that the majority of you have a list. It's not that large in terms of it's not more than 500 names, and you're adding names to it somewhat, but at a pretty slow pace, right? Less than 10 a month. So let's talk a little bit about intention, right? And here's a definition for intention for you on the screen. One of the golden rules in selling that Brian Tracy wrote about in his book called Goals is to spend more time with better prospects, right? So when we talk about adding names to your database, to your list, we want to be very intentional as to why. What are you going to do with those names, right? What's going to happen if you added 50 names a month, if you added 100 names a month to your list? What would happen to that? Well, we need to actually have intention to do something with that. We need to have intention to communicate with that list. And that can be in a physical way. I know many mortgage brokers and agents that sell physical things in the mail, send notepads, send cards, send other pieces of information. That's one intention that you can have, which is a way of continually touching them, right? Another intention you can say is, hey, I'm going to do some things in the virtual space or online. I'm going to send an e-newsletter. I'm going to shoot emails about important things that are happening that I care about. So we need to be intentional to say, 1, I want to grow my list, and 2, that I'm going to do something with this list that's going to contribute to my business, right? I'm going to work with that list over time to do that. And one of the things I want you to think about is that you have to have something to say, right? That for you to double the size of your list in 60 days, you have to have an opinion. You have to have something that you want to share. And that opinion can be about exactly what's going on in your industry. That opinion can be about things that are tangential or somewhat related to the industry, or it could be about something totally separate, but that gives you a common ground and a connection to the people that are on your list. So one of the realities of media today is that you're fighting for attention. And so you need to have something that is important and valuable to say. And that comes down to your opinions that leverage your knowledge and skills. So here's a couple of ideas for things that you could have opinions about. One would be, and these are all tangential, right? So I'm going to assume that you already have lots of opinions around lending, right? And creating loans and securing money for people to purchase homes and second homes and all different kinds of things, right? So this set of ideas is for other things that you could express your opinion on that are related to this, right? So one could be on home design and decorating. And for an online community of where you could actually participate, there's a great website out there called Houzz. It's Houzz. And it is a vibrant community of people that are passionate about how your homes look inside and out. And so that's a great place to be able to socially network with people and be able to express your opinions. And they have tons of great tools that you can actually build your own portfolios of things that you find are really interesting and fascinating and share that. Home safety is another one, right? Everyone cares about their home, but how to be safe in your home. There's all kinds of technology today around keeping things safe, from carbon monoxide detectors to plug outlet covers for young families, all different kinds of things like that. So home safety obviously ties to the idea of a home and relates to what you guys do, not directly, but on the side, right? Technology for the home. Home technologies, this could be entertainment-oriented. This could be how you control the thermostats in your home remotely. This could be in alarm systems, different things like that. Personal finance, obviously a big sector, a ton of information out there. There's another great community online here that we have the logo for called LearnVest. LearnVest has really grown and filled a niche in the personal finance space, and they have lots of information for people on saving and managing your finances, holding to a budget, and it's a great place for you to be able to share information, to be able to express your opinions about personal finance and different things like that, and it's a great community that you can become a part of. You could also express your opinions on the economy, on travel. I know, obviously, vacation homes, second homes, buying land, other places to go is an area that many of your customers care about. That could be something that you guys could comment on as well. Now, there's other ideas that you could do that would be things that you're just plain passionate about, right? Other things that you just really love to do or have a big interest in, have a lot of experience or knowledge in. They could be community activities. It could be an important social cause that you feel very valued and connected to. It could be youth sports. It could be a specific hobby that you have. You could be really passionate about the college or university that you attended or a particular sports team. And those kinds of things can really come to play. So a quick story for you is I actually have a fraternity brother of mine that went to university with me. His name's John Skinner. He happens to be a real estate agent up in Los Angeles. And he actually publishes a blog every week called The Skinny on SC Sports. And it's funny to see what has happened with this because it's really him giving his opinion on the University of Southern California Trojans college football team, and it gets sent out every week. And he started doing this about 2 or 3 years ago. And when he started doing it, there was one, I got it, and then I started to have a friend of mine that would always forward it to me. Now, every time it comes out, there's at least 2 or 3 people that always seem to forward this newsletter to me, and it's getting shared around. And you get an email with a logo, and you click on it, and you go to his website, right? And so it's just a way that he's been engaging with his list and being able to talk to people about it. So, again, he's passionate about the USC Trojan football team. He turned that passion into something that he's actually outreaching to his list on, and it's really created a lot of engagement and people being able to comment back to him and a way for him to keep connected to people, right? Because here's the thing that we know is that a loan and procuring a loan for the vast majority of people out there is an event that happens relatively infrequently, right? It happens when they buy a home, it happens when they refinance, but for the most part, the majority of people don't get a loan very frequently. And so that your role as a mortgage broker and an agent is to interact with that person when they have that need. But after that need is fulfilled, they're not necessarily going to have a lot of interest in what's happening with interest rates or other things like that. So you want to find something that has a more recurring basis for you to be able to interact with people and keep in touch with your list. Second thing I want to talk about is permission. Seth Godin wrote a great book several years ago called Permission Marketing. And the subheading of that title was Turning Strangers into Friends and Friends into Customers. I don't know how many of you have ever read Seth publishes a great blog, SethGodin.com. Some days it's 200 words, some days it's 7 words. But he's really thought of as one of the premier minds around marketing. But this quote right here says, permission marketing is the privilege, not the right, of delivering anticipated, personal, and relevant messages to people who actually want to get them. And so I bring up this concept of permission because when you think about growing your list, you want the people on that list to have explicitly given you permission to talk to them, and that they want and expect to hear from you about the things that you are expressing your opinions on, right? So this book goes into great detail about how to do this. The important thing that I want you to take away from this is that you need permission. And as you build your list and you think about what opinions you are going to share and you're going to engage with your list on, it's really important to think about that they want to hear from you. And the ultimate compliment that you could be paid, that you know you've gotten permission and you know you have engagement, is when you have to step away for a moment and you miss a regularly scheduled communication with your list and they all complain, right? Or a whole bunch of people say, hey, where are you? Waiting to hear from you. Why haven't I gotten your newsletter yet? Or why didn't I get your article on what's happening with a particular team, whatever it may be. That's the ultimate complement of permission. So permission is very important, that as you build permission, that gives you the opportunity to turn strangers into friends and friends into customers. It's kind of like dating. If you think about this, if you go to and you're at a party at your friend's house and you meet somebody new and you start talking with them, right? The next step is to perhaps exchange information and set an expectation that we're going to communicate in the future, right? When you first, as speaking from the guy's perspective, right? When you first ask a girl out on a date, you want that first date to go really well, right? But in that first date, that's not going to be the one where you bring out all the stops, right? You're going to have a really good first date, but you don't know what you don't know, and you're trying to get to know them. So that first date, it's often dinner, a movie, a show, something like that, but really gives you the opportunity to almost think of it as going up a ladder, right? To take steps up the ladder in terms of how you're going to build that relationship. So to get to the second date, you have to have the first date, right? So when you think about permission marketing, in order for you to be able to put them on your e-newsletter list, you have to have sent an email to them first to say, hey, I'd like to be able to talk to you, and hey, I have this newsletter where I do this, this, and this. Does this sound interesting to you? If so, great. I'd love to be able to add you to that list. So you got to think about it as a progression of how you go through that process. So let's talk about techniques and get into techniques. So here's your real-world technique number 1 of how to grow your database and double it in 60 days. One is when you go to events. These could be community events. These could be your kid's soccer game. These could be entertainment venues. What you want to do is when you meet people is you want to find common ground quickly, right? So you want to have the things that you care about. You want to find common ground with them real quickly to be able to get to a point where you could exchange information. So find that common ground by expressing what your opinion is. So here's 5 steps to building a list when you go to events, right? So find someone new or old even, not relative to age, but old in that somebody you might have known before but you hadn't had a chance to connect with in a long time, right? Find some common ground fast. Tell them something about the things that you care about and see if it resonates, right? And so you want to tell them about your opinion area, right? Tell them about something that you care about, something that you are going to engage if they were added to your list about on a regular basis. Then ask permission if there's a fit. Say, hey, could we connect? Would you be interested in receiving my newsletter or my mailing or whatever the engagement is that you're going to do with your list? And then follow up for your first date, right? Get that time where you can be able to communicate on the phone, go to coffee, depending on what your strategy is, even if it's just adding them to your email list, figure out what that first date is. Send them something of value that just expounds or expands on the opinion area that you found common ground with, right? So those are your 5 steps to adding to your list by going to events. And these could be any kind of event, right? Some of them would be called networking events. Others would be events of people that you care about. A PTA meeting at your local school is a great place to go and meet people that are vested in your community and care about the future of your school. Let's talk about real-world technique number 2. This is all about referrals, right? And so asking for referrals for people. So in this case, this technique is not about asking for direct referrals of somebody that needs a loan. That is not what we're talking about here. This technique is about asking for people that are interested in the opinion area that you are going to engage with your list on a regular basis. Okay? So here are your steps for this referrals. Here's what you want to do is you want to tell the contacts that you already have about what your opinion area is, the thing that you care about that you're going to regularly be communicating about. Tell your contacts what that is. Ask for introductions to other people that they know that are interested in that, right? Going back to our example of home design, ask them, say, who else you know that's really gets excited about cool things that they could do with the interior of their home from a decorating standpoint or furniture, right? It's asking people about that. Tell them about what your opinion area is and ask them permission if they say, hey, would you be interested in receiving my quarterly newsletter that comes in the mail about home decorating? Follow up for that first date, right? Set a time to have an exchange, either email, phone, on social media, wherever that may be, to have that interaction to say, hey, give me your permission to be on my list, right? So again, you're asking for referrals about your opinion area. So I wanted to share with you a little bit of scripting of how you should ask for your referral. And I'm going to use as an example a doctor that's in my area. His name's Dr. Moy, and it's not a very attractive term, but he performs bunion surgeries. And he does, his tagline is that he does more of them than any other doctor in the world. And so here's what he does, is when you go in for surgery, he has to put, he goes through surgery, and his trademark is he's very precise, and there's no pain. And so he puts a boot, kind of an air-filled cast almost, on your foot that you have to wear for a few days. And as he's putting on the cast, he tells you, he says, hey, people are going to ask you what happened. And you're going to say, hey, I just had bunion surgery with Dr. Moy, and it was amazing because there was no pain whatsoever. And what he does is he actually helps them rehearse of how they're going to tell their friends and family what just happened to them. And then on the air cast, he has a little flap on the air cast where he puts a little stack of his cards. But these aren't just general business cards. These are cards that have a before and after photograph on the back of your foot. So he's deeply personalized this, right? And he takes the before and after photographs. So when you give, and he tells you exactly how to do this. And he says, when you give them the card, say, hey, this was my foot before, and this is it after. Look what Dr. Moy did for me, right? Why do I tell you that story? I tell you that story because that's a fantastic example of having tremendous intention and getting permission from your client to generate referrals for you, right? So you need to script and actually rehearse in your head that says, hey, if your thing is going to be home decorating that you're going to have an opinion about, how could you, when you're in process with a client and you're working on their loan for them, that you could share with them and say, hey, I just wanted to share with you guys in that when we're all done with this, I would love for you to be able to take this stack of flyers and give one to 3 of your friends and say, hey, my mortgage broker is a fantastic guy. They just did a great loan for me. But you know what else? they're passionate about interior design, and they actually do a quarterly newsletter, and here, I'd like to give it to you. So it's being very intentional with your scripting to say, I'm actually going to have phrases that I want to tell people about to tell them how to give me referrals, right, and how to refer them so that they can get on my list, right? Because certainly there's a whole bunch of people that your new client knows that don't need a loan right now. But they might know a few people that care about home design or care about the PTA or care about the local sports team, right? So it's finding that opinionary that you're going to talk about on a regular basis. And Dr. Moy does this at a tremendous level, and he gets great results from it. So let's shift gears now. We've been talking about a lot of things that we can do when we're physically face-to-face with people, these two techniques that we just talked about. Let's shift gears a little bit, and let's talk about online techniques that we can use in the online world. Our first technique, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Twitter and finding people on Twitter. Now, I don't know how many of you use Twitter actively today, but Twitter is a tremendously vibrant community of people that use this tool all day long, and the vast majority of people actually use it on their cell phone. So more than anything, Twitter's really become this mobile platform of how people stay connected. I'm sure all of you were inundated with news coverage of Hurricane Sandy that just decimated the east coast of the United States. I was watching a post report by one of the big three networks in the United States, and they said that the biggest place where people were getting news relative to Sandy was on Twitter and Facebook. That's because it was real time. People were posting photographs and all different kinds of information about what was really happening at that time. So people are pretty actively involved on that platform. So on Twitter, there's a ton of people on there. And we're going to talk about a way of how to find people to add to your database, right? So what you want to do is you're going to want to search for keywords, words that are related to your opinion area. That, again, your opinion area is how you're going to be interacting with your list on a regular basis. So you want to search for keywords that matter there, and you want to get involved in the conversation. And you want to follow people that are saying interesting things and try to connect with them and ask them permission to join your list. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit about how you can actually do this. And even if you've never used Twitter before, that's okay. So first thing is if you've never used Twitter, I would encourage you to go to twitter.com. Not just yet. Wait till we're done with our webinar here today. But go to twitter.com and sign up. It's free. You can just create an account. In Twitter, at the top of the page, there's always a persistent search box. And so in that search box, if you type in a keyword, and so I'm going to use designer, at the top of the menu, you'll be able to get all different kinds of things, and it gives you a bunch of different search results of people that are using that particular word. Now, if you click on the advanced search, which when it gives you your results, you can see that there's a little gear up in the upper right-hand corner of that results box, right? That's right here. So, and if you click on that, it'll give you the opportunity to say, hey, I want to do an advanced search, okay? So if you click on advanced search, it's going to give you the ability to choose some extra options, okay? So these extra options, when you click on advanced search, it continues to give you the ability to put in keywords, right? And there's a whole bunch of different things that you could do there. But let's just say we use the word designer, or it could be a bunch of different words. But then what you want to do is you want to find local activity, right? Because really you want to connect with people that are in your local market that you can service. Now, if you end up serving a larger market, you could do this across a bigger area. But I chose Vancouver as the city, and so I put Vancouver in this place here. You'll notice on the advanced search there's a lot of other things. You can search for people related to different kinds of accounts or that mention accounts, different things like that. So once you click on that advanced search and you put those parameters in, you're going to get a list of results, right? So you can see right here on this page, it showed a set of results for designer near Vancouver, and it defaults to within 15 miles, okay? And so what you'll see here are a list of recent tweets. And tweets are little statements that are 140 characters or less. You can include links to other pages, right? So if we look at this one, you can take a look at what people are talking about, right? So this one company is called Wood Design, And they were just saying a thank you, right? They're having interviews with a designer named Alex Henderson of Hendry Goods. And so they were talking about something they were doing. So this one caught my eye because I thought what they did with their icon was kind of interesting, that they took the T from the Twitter logo, that's the stylized T, and they did it in wood. And I thought that was just kind of interesting. So they're talking about design and doing it in an interesting way. So if you click on the name of the person, right, so wood design, it'll actually bring up a whole profile of who they are. So it says here, look, wood design, a reinvention of old wood with a collection of new stories, a new furniture platform of contemporary independent makers and designers. Well, hey, if my opinion area was going to be interior design, this sounds like a pretty passionate group of people, right? Now, on a profile summary, it tells you a couple of other things. One is it tells you how many tweets they've made, right? So this particular company has made 2,901 tweets. And then it shows you how many people are they following, so a little over 1,700, and how many people follow them. So they have a pretty engaged group at 1,700 followers, right? So this is a lot of, and a follower is somebody that basically has clicked on wood design, and now when they log into Twitter on their phone or any platform that they choose, whatever wood design says will actually show up in their Twitter feed, it's called, right? And so that it gives them the ability to have somebody potentially see what they tried to say. So researching these people and how active and how connected they are gives you an opportunity to say, hey, Wood Design's local here in Vancouver. They have almost 2,000 people that are following them, and they're pretty active, right? They're sending out a number of pieces of information called tweets. So right here, you can actually click on this follow button, and then you'd be able to see in your Twitter feed what they're actually saying. So it gives you an opportunity. There's also a way that if you click on the little headshot of a person here, you can actually send them what's called a direct message. She could say, hey, I just started learning about you. Would love to hear more about what your business is, right? Hey, could we set up a time? Could we exchange emails? And then that gives you, again, you're asking for permission to kind of take that next step and go on a first date. So a very large community, and it's estimated that there's over 10 million, so there's a lot of people on there. One of the great parts to this opportunity on Twitter is that you can be really specific about how you find people, right? So you can use keywords, you can use cities, you can use industry terms, you can use people that follow other people. I know VERICO is a huge participant in the Canadian mortgage industry, right? So you can be able to find out who else in your local market follows the Canadian mortgage industry Twitter account online, and they have one. I've already checked it out. And so if you find other people that follow them, you can take a look at who they might be. Chances are many of them are other brokers and agents like yourself, but it's an example of how you can be very specific, right? You want to find people that like your opinion and can tell others. So one of the things about Twitter is it's super easy to let everybody that is on your team know that you want to follow, you have something to say, and that there's something cool being said. So it's really easy for things to, not to overuse that term, but to go viral, right? That if you said something that was really powerful and affected a lot of people, those people could share it out with a whole bunch more people very quickly. One of the sort of inherent rules of Twitter is that you need to provide a lot of value before you ask permission to take a next step with anyone, right? Twitter is a community of mostly voyeurs, people watching what goes on by other people, and a minority of contributors, right? And you need to balance that out. What you'll see, if I go back a slide real quick, one of the things that you'll see is you notice that this number of followers and following is pretty similar. So one of the rules of etiquette of Twitter has been that if someone follows you, it's polite to follow them back. Now, it doesn't always happen that way, but a way for you to be able to connect with many people on Twitter is to go find the people that you think are going to care about your opinion and follow them, and many of them will follow you back. Now, when they follow you back, you need to make a commitment to say, I'm going to use Twitter, and I'm going to put information out there on a regular basis. So the reality is of using Twitter, you have to allocate time to do this, right? It's one more thing that's added to your stack. It has potential to have a lot of reach, but you have to allocate time to do that. Now, as a guideline, I would tell you that Twitter happens very much in real time. And your window in which your opinion can be seen by other people is very narrow. So if you're going to use Twitter, you're going to need to come up with things to say and how to express your opinion, and you're going to need to do it every single day, 5 days a week, right? And you're going to need to do it usually 3 to 5 times at minimum a day to post tweets. Now, there's a bunch of tools that you can pre-schedule them. You can use Hootsuite and a bunch of other tools out there to do that. So it's not like you actually have to be on Twitter 3 to 5 times a day. But you do need to make a commitment to be able to get out little glimpses of your opinions and potentially link back to your newsletter or somewhere else where you would say this. Similar behavior exists on Facebook or LinkedIn, right? That this idea that you can go and search for and locate the kinds of people that you want is really valuable. And it relates back to a topic that Brian Tracy talks about all the time from a marketing standpoint, is that you have to have a clarity about who your target market is. Now, the challenge with your industry and procuring loans for people is that it applies to everybody, right? Everybody that's going to buy a house needs a loan at some point. So it applies to a really broad base. Well, I would ask you to think about who are your top 5 customers that you've ever had. And the question is if you could have 10, 20, 30, 50 more like them, what would that do to your business? And what is it about your best customers that matters most to you? Because that's what you need to look at. You need to go and find those kind of people. And they're out there. If you'd like to learn more about how to use Twitter and how to get a ton out of it, here's information from a rising star, a fellow Canadian named Scott Stratton. He published a book a couple of years ago called Unmarketing, and he has a new book out that just came out. Unmarketing is all about engagement and how to engage with people, and he has become one of an amazingly powerful influencer through using Twitter. He's done fundraising for nonprofits using Twitter. He's launched marketing campaigns. He's done a lot of great stuff. So he's a resource, a great place where you can learn more about how to use Twitter as a technique for you to add people to your list. I will tell you from personal experience that Twitter as a place to add people to your list can happen very fast. You can grow your list very quickly because there's a lot of people out there, and a ton of people that use Twitter use it very regularly. So it's a great opportunity for you. Let's shift gears and let's talk about another online way that you can add people to your list. And this, again, involves your participation, but it's really using what we call online groups or answers. There's a couple of that I've highlighted here. One of the best ones is LinkedIn Answers. LinkedIn is a professional network where it's a lot of people in business. So these tend to be people employed in companies as well as people that own businesses. So it's a great opportunity for you to find people that are, certainly many of them are homeowners today or want to be homeowners in the very near future. Quora is a newer social media platform, and it's all about questions about all kinds of things. And you can sign up on Quora and talk about areas where you have expertise, and they'll send you questions that they think you would be good at answering. Also, getting involved in LinkedIn groups. LinkedIn groups are online social networking groups around different things. There's tons of different groups out there. And again, relative to an area that you're going to have as an opinion area, find a group that likes to talk about those kinds of things. There are obviously LinkedIn's for professionals, so the things that are more retail in orientation or consumer in orientation may not have tons of groups out there, but I bet you can find a group for almost anything that you're interested on LinkedIn. And a more just general public-focused platform where you can do this is Yahoo Answers, which has a tremendous audience. Obviously, Yahoo's in the top 5 worldwide in terms of audience size online. So there's a lot of people that go to Yahoo. Yahoo's also a massive collection of different sites. But Yahoo Answers actually come up very highly in search when people are looking for answers to specific questions. So again, this is an opportunity for you to provide expertise and your opinion to people that want it. So again, this opportunity is for you to come in and search and find questions or topics that people are talking about on these platforms, provide your knowledge and expertise in the way of an answer or discussion, and then be able to engage deeper with them. And the opportunity is really that when you're in a discussion in a group or you're doing answers back and forth, it's your ability to now connect with this person and say, hey, I'd like to talk to you about something else that I have that may be interesting for you to be able to engage with me. So again, it's that first date concept. So these are all really great platforms that you can use to do this. So here's a couple of examples of where you can see this. So this one came on personal real estate, that there's open questions on LinkedIn Answers. And I just ran this one a couple of days ago. And again, it's going to LinkedIn, it's going to the answers and doing a search or clicking on different categories that there. So you can see there's a variety of different, and they span the gamut of different kinds of things, right? And so you can see the one at the bottom there says, what are the features you suggest in the future for ready residential flats or houses? And this was posted in real estate, and there's 6 answers already for this question that was posted 5 days ago. And some topics have a lot more traction. Some topics don't have very much traction. The one challenge that you have with LinkedIn Answers is geography, right? Because LinkedIn Answers is on LinkedIn's global site. So pretty much anyone that's on the English version of LinkedIn, and there is certainly a Canadian version of LinkedIn and a U.S. version of LinkedIn, but the reality is the content's completely commingled. They have segregated some things for user accounts, but the reality is all the content exists in one place. So you can look under personal real estate and find out what people are talking about relative to homes. There's a personal finance area. There's a bunch of different areas on there on LinkedIn. It's a great opportunity for you to be able to participate in the discussion. Let's look at another example. This is a search from Quora. Quora, this was a question that says, why is the Greater Toronto Area considered diverse if races and subcultures often live in separate parts of the city? So I picked this one just because it was a general question about Toronto, and it was a question about, hey, how do you understand where all these people are in Toronto? And so this would be something that if you were in Toronto and you cared about the community, that you could put down areas or topics that you were interested in, and then Quora would actually send you, on whatever interval you wanted, a list of open questions that were recently asked and give you the opportunity to be able to provide answers to them. So it acts as kind of a search engine that notifies you where there's things where you can engage and be able to connect with people, right? And so you can then be able to actually connect with the person that posted this question, and you can take your dialogue off of Quora and over to email, or maybe even over to the phone. But again, it's that idea of engaging with people to be able to talk to them and share your opinions. Let's look at one other example from Yahoo Answers. This is a question related to capital gains tax, right? That somebody asked the question, and it was specific to Ontario and asking this particular question. And so you can see that there's name information, and everybody can create their own little avatar logo that they want to have about this and be able to put this information in right here. So one of the things that Yahoo Answers does is that when you have a good answer, you get voted up. And if you're the best answer, when somebody comes to this question, your profile picture and your answer actually gets provided there, right? So you have an opportunity to increase your visibility by providing really good answers that other people like and corroborate on, and it'll increase your visibility on this. And again, the reason I showed you Yahoo Answers is that Yahoo Answers are indexed across the internet. And so for your opinion area, this is a place for you to be actively engaged and potentially have lots of people find out about what you're talking about, and then they can click on your icon and try to actually interact with you, right? So this can act for you to be proactive and find people that are asking questions that you can connect with, but simply by putting out your knowledge and your experience, other people will be able to find you and actually come and connect with you. So what's the opportunity with groups? Well, you can connect with people that have very specific needs. Obviously, time matters on this, right? The more real time it is, the more people get engaged with what you're doing. you can actually earn a reputation the more engaged you are. And a great place where this shows up is in LinkedIn groups. That if you're more active on a group, both putting out discussion questions and providing answers and comments, that there's a graphic on LinkedIn groups that shows who are the most active people on this discussion board. And so again, it's another way for people to be able to find out who you are and find out what you're talking about. But really, the opportunity is a place for you to share your opinions, right? It's a place for you to get engaged and have people become a part of your list, both online, actively within this community, and offline, either on your email newsletter list or physical list of how you're going to engage with them. The reality is an investment of dollars, but it is an investment of your time, of where you can find people to be able to engage with you and add them to your list. So a couple of additional resources for you, and I highlighted 3 different articles that are out there that are good, that have some great information. The first one is on HubSpot. It's 25 clever ways to grow your email marketing list. Great article, gives you a whole bunch of suggestions on how you can add names to your list that are in line with the permission marketing that we talked about earlier. Another one is the Ultimate Guide to LinkedIn Answers. We talked about answers being one of the great places to go to be able to participate in question and answers online. This is from a website called Sprout Geek, and it's a quick way for you to find it. And again, this web presentation will be available, and we can email you this list of resources as well. The third one is 5 ways to find new leads on Twitter. Now, this article is particular to about lead generation, right? So this is very specific leads, not necessarily leads of just people to add to your list that you can interact with. But it's a great article from Nimble. Nimble is a maker of software that's a socially integrated customer relationship management software or lead tracking software. So those are some other places where you can find great ideas about how to add names to your list and do other effective online marketing. So at this point, I'd like to open it up to questions to find out what questions that we have out there. And Rupert or Pin, I don't know if you guys have any questions that people put into the box out there, but let's fire away with some questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Mike. And again, a friendly reminder, everybody, you can type your questions right into the chat box there, and then we'll collect these questions up here and pass them on. At this point, I do want to say and just reinforce it, Michael, well done and some great new ideas to engage, some new places. I must admit, I'd never heard of Quora before. First time I've heard of that before. And as well as some of those resources, we will be emailing and recording this. It has been recorded. And by the end of tomorrow or Monday at the latest, we will be emailing a copy of this presentation to you in your office, as well as some of these resources will be included in that. Is there any questions that anybody had at this point in time that they wanted to ask Mike on social media, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and Quora that they're comfortable asking or would like to ask? At this point, I guess you've covered everything because I'm not getting any questions, Mike. And I'd say again, good job for what we had today. I think great, well done. Of course, the take action step. And so let me pass the take action step over to you.
Great. So let's talk about how you take action on this and what to do next. So you notice that there's a picture here. This is a picture of the Parthenon in Greece. And I bring this up because I want to talk to you about real quick how you take action and using what we call the Parthenon principle. And this is a principle that says when you're building your business, you need to build your business not with one column, but with many columns, right? The Parthenon was built over 2 millennia ago and has over 150 columns and actually has a couple of layers of columns back in its day that hold up this amazing structure that's lasted for so long. To build your business, and in particular, we're talking about marketing and lead generation, you need to have more than one pillar of how you're going to add names to your database. So we've talked about a few techniques today. So here's what I'd like you to do. This is your challenge, is first and foremost, you have to decide that you're going to grow your list, right? Many of you that responded to that survey have a list less than 500 names. You have to say, and you have to make a choice that say, am I going to grow this list? You have to be intentional and say, I'm going to grow my list and I'm going to do something with this list, right? So what I'd like you to do and challenge you to do is I'd like you to set a 60-day goal. Today's the 1st of November. in the next 60 days, obviously there are holidays and a lot of things going on, but I want you to set a goal of how many names you want to add to your list by December 31st. And then I want you to decide what techniques are you going to use to add those. We talked about 4 very specific techniques today, of how to engage people and find common ground and talk about your opinion area when you're at events, different kinds of events, both in entertainment. We talked about how to ask your existing clients and existing people on your list for referrals to other people that may care about your opinion area, right? So those are 2 techniques. We talked about 2 online techniques of using Twitter and using online questions and answers, places to share your expertise. Those could be techniques that you want to embrace. You may have other techniques that you've used successfully to grow your list. The point is, set a goal today. Set what are going to act as your building blocks to get you that goal, and put that goal in an email to VERICO@focalpointcoaching.com. Send it to us today. Only take a few minutes to put down a number of what your goal is and how you want to achieve it. Send that to us today, and then we're going to be your accountability partners, right? And in a little over 60 days, when we get to the first of the year, that first week in January, we're going to email you back your goal, and we're going to ask you, how did you do? Were you able to achieve your goal? Did you take action, and did you add as many names to your list as you had wanted to add to your list? So that's your challenge. So send that out to VERICO@focalpointcoaching.com, and we'll be following up with you in January. Does that sound good? So
that sounds great, Mike. That sounds great. Accountability and writing your goals down always makes a huge strive in obtaining them. So I would reinforce what Mike said and challenge you all to take some of these steps and take the action. And those that take the action always seem to perform better magically. But any final questions here before we, or unless Mike had something else you wanted to share, but any final questions for Mike and the team here? I don't see any questions at this point in time. I guess everyone's thinking about how they're going to take action and what those goals may be to send over your way. But it looks like we do have a free copy of Brian Tracy's Everyone's a Salesperson. Is that right?
Yeah, so this is just a short 6-7 page article that really talks and gets...
Hello?
And the people that you might be talking to. It's a great article that we'd like to send to everybody that's interested. So just send us an email at VERICO@focalpointcoaching.com. You can even include it in the email when you send us your goals, and we'll send you this free ebook back to you.
Fabulous, fabulous. Again, everyone that came on the call today, a reminder, these will be emailed out to you by no later than Monday as well. And please share it with your colleagues. Share it with your other VERICO brethren in the industry. And if you enjoyed it, if you've implemented something and you found some value, send us at the head office an email as well at info@verico.ca or directly at verico@focalpointcoaching.com as well. We look forward to your feedback. We look forward to you enjoying more success. And in 2 weeks, here it is, the 3 I's of the entrepreneur. Do you want to give a quick promo of what that is, or do you want to leave that for 2 weeks' time?
No, absolutely. In 2 weeks, Rupert's going to be on here, and he's going to be talking about the 3 different eyes, and these are the physical eyeballs, or the ways you look at your business that are critical to be successful as an entrepreneur. And he's going to be going through and helping you to apply how are you going to do this, and talking also about how you spend your time and how critical it is in the midst of the day-to-day craziness that is the mortgage lending industry in Canada, and getting on the phones and talking with people all the time. You have to make sure that you spend some time putting on your entrepreneur hat and thinking and strategizing about how you're going to grow your business. So stay tuned. In 2 weeks, Rupert's going to be on the line talking all about this concept that we call the 3 I's of the entrepreneur. Fabulous.
Again, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Focal Point. Thank you for VERICO people attending. Take action. Come back in 2 weeks for the next session, and we look forward to hearing your feedback. Have a great day, everybody. Bye for now.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike.